Well, welcome back to Market Shares. I'm your host, Tony Blodgett, and I'm back for a follow-up conversation with Hervé Kadiati.
Yes, that's
and
correct.
I'm getting really good at this last name. But Hervé is a super impressive young man that I met a while back, and we were having an event at one of our branches, and he's a real estate professional that works with some of our loan officers. And when we got to talking the first time, I was super impressed with just your background and your story. And if you haven't watched it already, we did do a full episode where we talked about, your story of moving here to America. You were born in the Congo,
Right.
and that whole journey, which is just a really impressive story. But one of the things that really stood out for me in our previous conversation and when we've met in the past is really the level of success that you've had in selling real estate in just, 1 year. It's really right at your 1 year anniversary.
Yes, I started last year in April, and then this month is basically 12 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got my license, and then I just started working, and I closed about 22 transactions my first 12 months.
Yeah, 22 transactions. So this is what I want to unpack. There is people that watch this, that watch Market Shares that are in mortgage and real estate. And I think that there's a story to be told here, because a lot of people are actually getting out of real estate in the last year. I mean,
Yes.
people saw the success and the massive amount of business during COVID in 2020 and 2021, and even leading up to that, and a lot of people got into the industry. They're really excited. They did some transactions. And then we're starting to see people, like I see very successful mortgage and real estate people that are like going and getting a real job again. They're getting out of real estate, and here you are, only been in it for 1 year. You did 22 transactions in your very first year, and you are just, like a rocket ship. So first of all, congratulations on your success, but I really want to understand, what you've done over that time. And in our last conversation, you mentioned one thing, which I'm imagining is kind of the start of your success, which is you mentioned that while you were in the process of getting your real estate license, you were already starting to build the list of clients and your database. So maybe talk a little bit about there, and then let's go through some other things that I know you're doing to be really successful already.
Yeah, so I started taking my classes back in March of last year. But what I figured was, after I finish my classes, I'm not gonna be licensed, right? And then once I'm licensed, and then what? I don't want to be licensed and then start to figure out like where I'm gonna get my first deal, where my client is gonna come from. So I was like, okay, I'm not gonna start behind the 8 ball. I'm gonna be proactive. I'm gonna start utilizing my sphere to let them know I am gonna be in the business very soon. So I just started to talk to my friends, my coworkers, my employees, and then letting them know, okay, listen, I'm taking my classes very soon. I'm gonna be a real estate agent. So if you're interested to buy a house, or someone that wants to buy a house, let me know. I'm gonna be more than happy to work with them. So I started to build my list and then start to understand people's situations. And then once I got licensed, then I started to work with them. So I closed on my first deal exactly 45 days after I got licensed.
Wow.
Yes, due to that process.
So how many people do you think you had built up a list of while you were still in the process of getting your license and going through all that?
About a dozen people.
About a dozen people?
About a dozen. And then most of them were not really ready to buy a house because of some situation, whether it is work history, credit score, raising the down payments. But for the most part, out of the 12, 13 people I got from that list, I closed on 4 of them last year.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay. So you started right out of the gate by networking. And what is it? Is it really just kind of, because you work with all first-time home buyers, pretty much.
Yes, every single one of them.
Every single one of them. And almost everyone that you work with is an immigrant to the United States.
Yes, so 90 to 95% of my clients last year, yes, they are immigrants.
And how many of them are Congolese, or most of them, or just any sort of immigrants?
So I work with any immigrant, whether you come from South America, Asia, Africa, wherever you come from. Like coming to America, it's new for all of us. That's one thing we have in common, right?
Right.
Common, right? We have to learn the country. We have to learn the system, which means we have the same struggles. We have the same challenges. So being able to just work with these people, provide value, and that's how I built my business.
So you've you told me that your focus really is like your niche is really working with immigrants because you feel like you went through the same challenges.
Right.
They obviously would have the same challenges that you have. And I'm assuming through that process, you've found that it's really rewarding to be able to help someone
Yes,
who
it is.
doesn't understand.
Because once I got my license, I also do open houses a lot, right? What I figured was in the beginning, I was hosting open houses in like Bellevue, Kirkland. These are $1 million homes, and every time someone will come into my open house, the conversation wouldn't go anywhere because they didn't really see how I could add value to them, what I could provide to them, right? So I had to shift my mindset to where when I understood value is only value when the marketplace values what you have to provide. And my people, immigrant and people who are coming to this country, they are just like me. They can relate to me, right? We have the same struggle. When they talk to me, they know I'm going to understand better than anyone else out there. So I just focus on these people, and then I also focus on a specific price point. So I only focus on like 800 below. Like if someone comes to buy a house like which is worth like 1.5, I'm gonna help that person.
Sure.
But I don't chase those people.
Right.
Right. I go after first-time home buyers and then people who are buying like starter homes.
Got it. So you'll even sit maybe in an open house that isn't your listing on the weekend, and so you started off by going, "Hey, I'm going to go where the big houses are, right? I'm going to, and then realize that maybe you don't resonate with those people as much. So now you sit, and I do see. We're going to talk about social media because you do a great job with your social media, but now you will sit open houses to meet prospective buyers, but you're very intentional about making sure that you're meeting the kind of clients that you prefer to work with.
Yes. So what I did was my first 6 months, I went through my database and I looked at my stats because I love numbers, right? I am driven by numbers. So I looked at my numbers and then I had to understand where my clients are coming from, what's the price points, and then all these things. I had to have a conversation with my mentor, Scott Bautista. So I explained to him, I said, listen, I'm doing all these open houses in Bellevue, Kirkland. I'm not getting any clients. And these people, they barely talk to me. Then we had to have a conversation about my data and my price point, where my clients are coming from. So it was like, okay, let's focus on this area. That's where your business is. So from that point on, I only focus on first-time home buyers, people who are buying starter homes, 800 below.
Yeah, I love it. Well, what I like about that is just really being open to the idea of you work with a mentor, which is huge, but also being open to the idea that, look, there is a type of client that I prefer to work with. They're all going to be in this kind of certain price point category, and even geographically, right? I'm assuming you're working certain markets, and I think any of us could do that. I was the same way when I first got into the mortgage business. I went to where I grew up. I worked in a blue collar, environment. I didn't go to downtown Seattle and Bellevue to look for clients. And a lot like you, I felt out of place in those markets. But I could relate to the person who worked at Boeing or who drove a truck for a living or whatever, because that's what my family did. That's what I knew. Yeah. And I'll tell you, working with people that you feel comfortable with and connected with makes a big difference, regardless of what your background is. So that's great insight. Let's talk about your social media, because one thing for someone who's so new to the country and new to this industry, you've really done a great job of establishing your own style. Your social media is really great, and it's grown a lot. So what have you done in those areas to help build your personal brand? What have you been invested in with social media? And do you have a strategy? Do you kind of have you figured out what works for you? Do you have a mentor in that space? Tell us a little bit about social media and building your brand specifically.
Yeah, so social media is actually huge because nowadays everyone is on social media, right? So coming into this business, people who know me personally, they will say I am introvert, right? Before actually getting to real estate, I never really posted anything on social media, like no picture of myself, no picture of any dog or anything, right? Because I wasn't really feeling comfortable actually being out there on social media. But getting into real estate, I understood people had to know who I am, right? And I took a different approach, right? When I was talking to different agents, they were like, oh, you have to have like a business page, and then people have to know you are like a businessman, an entrepreneur, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, that's fine. But I want people to get to know me for who I am, right? I'm gonna utilize my personal Facebook account. I'm not gonna start a business page, that's fine. But I'm gonna utilize my personal Facebook account first. Why? Because these people, most of them, they know me. And if they want to know if I'm in the business or not, they are interested to know who I am rather than what I do, right? I just don't want people to see me as a business person. I just don't want them to relate to me as an entrepreneur. I want them to relate to me for who I am and then to want to do business with me because of who I am. So I just started to utilize my personal account, but it's more of a consistency. I've seen many people using social media as well, but they post 1 to 3 days and then they don't do it for like a month or two.
Right.
That's where I always tell people, you have to understand the difference between being interested in doing something and being committed. As you said in the beginning, many agents, they left the industry. And last year probably was, I'm new to the industry, but it was really tough. Like last year was very tough because of the interest rates. Getting deals done was like very, very difficult. But being committed in something, you have to do it no matter what. You have to burn the ships. You have to burn the bridges. You have to just go all in with no backup plan and then try to figure it out. But most people, what they do, they are kind of interested. They do things when it's convenient to them, when the conditions are met, when it's pleasant, when it's comfortable. That's how you see many people closing 4, 5, 6 deals, and then they go 3, 4 months without any deal, and then they go back to the 9 to 5 because they are just interested, right? But for me, I wanted to be committed. I wanted to be consistent. I was posting every single day, whether it is real estate or personal thing, to brand myself, to show people, to share my story out there, to tell people exactly who I am, to get people to know me, and then to know my story was kind of really big. I wasn't afraid to show myself out there.
Yeah, no, well, I couldn't agree with you more. You know, failure is not an option, right? And those of us that have persevered in this industry, I'm 25 years or 26 years or something. There's been plenty of times that were difficult. The market was difficult. But I never, you know, the thought of doing something else never even crossed my mind. And so it's obvious you're only a year in, but you definitely have that same perseverance type of attitude, and you work hard. You know, there's no question that you're a hard worker. So to stay on social media for another second, you mentioned, you know, you do some real estate posts. I see that you post your open houses, you're at things like that. What other stuff are you doing? You know, what's your balance between business postings, personal postings? Do you have any thoughts on that piece?
So my social media, I would say it's 90% business, but I also try to provide some kind of mindset value because building like mental toughness for me was huge to not only get me to this level of success in real estate, but to just drive me every single day, because most people, they are not mentally like really strong to just cope with not only business but with life. So I just like to be positive out there, to motivate people, to just build that mental toughness into them, and I just share my personal story to help them out.
Love it. Yeah. All right, so just 2 last questions. So if you're speaking to someone who's new to real estate or mortgage, I got a lot of mortgage people that watch this show. Someone who's new, they're in their first year, their first, second year. What's your best advice that you would give to someone who kind of is in the same spot that you're at in this industry?
Take action, show up every single day, and build your network. Like everyone around you, they have to know you in the business, right? Sometimes I'm talking to people in the business, they'll be like, oh man, it's been 4 or 5 months, I'm doing this, and I have no deal. And then when you go to, on the social media, nothing on the social media tells you exactly what they do, right? They have like a profile picture of a dog and then nothing else, right? Right. Yeah, so people have to know you are in the business, right? My approach is like, wherever I go, I make sure before I leave that place, every single person in the room knows I am in the business. One day I was working at my smoothie place in my neighborhood. So when I go to small business places, I always tell every single person there, I am a real estate agent, right? So now when I'm going in, they refer to me not as RV, but as the real estate agent. So then everyone in the room will know I am in the business.
Right.
I got a client literally from a smoothie place. So I walked in, and then the girl was like, oh, my favorite real estate agent. Then the lady was like, oh, are you an agent? I said, yeah. She had questions about buying a house. So we started discussing. She wasn't ready to buy a house then, but that showed you that if people know what you do, that will drive your business to make sure everyone knows exactly what you do.
That is great advice. And the second question is, if you're a first-time home buyer, maybe you're an immigrant
Right.
to the country and you don't think that you can buy a home. What's your advice for someone who, you might meet and they would say, it's great that you're a real estate agent. I just don't think that I'll ever be able to buy a home. What do you now know about the process that you would want someone in that position to know about buying a home?
Right. I mean, first of all, I would want to understand why they think they cannot buy a house. What's stopping them from actually buying a house, right? Understanding that situation, and then we go to the next phase, which is you have to look at your options. It doesn't hurt to look at your options, right? Nobody is telling you to actually go out and purchase a house first. Just know your options. And then from there, you will be able to make a decision whether you want to buy or keep on renting. But we have to understand why you are thinking you cannot actually buy a house. What's stopping you? What information did you have that's actually telling you you cannot buy a house, right? Then we should be able to help you by looking at the options and then show you exactly, okay, with your situation, you could be ready to purchase this house, or in your situation, we need to work on your credit score, down payment, whatever the situation may be to get you ready. Sometimes I work with clients. We started the process last year in June, August. They were not ready due to 2 years of work history, because when you come to this country, you have to show employment history for at least 2 years, right? So we explain to them the process. We explain to them you need to be able to qualify if you completed 2 years of history. So we kept working with them, helping them. Some of the clients, the credit score was kind of messed up because of one reason or another. So we worked with them through the process, showed them exactly what they needed to do to fix their credit score to get ready. For some people, they just need to save up more money for the down payment. Like whatever the case may be, we need to understand, why do you think you cannot buy a house now? Then we are going to show you options you may have now or down the road.
Okay, so quick follow-up to that. So what are, a couple things that are misconceptions where people think that they can't buy a house because of X, Y, or Z, when it turns out that those things aren't an issue at all?
The two biggest I would say is people think they need 20% down to buy a house. And then number two, people think they need like 650 plus credit score to buy a house, which is 100% false, right? So with FHA loan, if you have like 2.5% down and 580 credit score, you could be qualified for a mortgage. And then even if you have 620 credit score without a down payment, you can use the Washington State Down Payment Assistance Program,
right,
which will help you get into your house with 0% down, which what I did. Like back in 2019, I bought my first house without having any money at all. All I had to do, provide my personal information, and then I got qualified for a mortgage and I purchased a house.
Yeah. Well, we don't want to give specific mortgage advice, but you're right. I mean, look, the reality is that we have borrowers with, even in some cases less than a 580
right.
credit score. Bad things happen to good people on their credit.
Right.
Sometimes it's not their fault. Sometimes it's a misunderstanding. Sometimes there's things we can quickly do to get their credit score up, right? And yeah, huge misconception about how much people need for a down payment. But hey, look, I appreciate you coming back on and having this quick conversation, because your story is amazing, but this part of it in particular really resonates with people, the amount of success you've had in just 1 year. And I'm really excited to see how your career continues to grow. And I've enjoyed getting to know you, and having you work with our team here at New American's been awesome as well. So thanks for coming on Market Shares, and maybe we'll have a follow-up with you here in the near future, and we can see how businesses continue to evolve for you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming in. For those of you on the other side of the screen, thank you for watching this episode of Market Shares. So many good takeaways today that I think anybody, especially those that are newer in the business, could implement and have the levels of success that Hervé's had. With that, you guys, like, subscribe, tell a friend or coworker about Market Shares. We would love that. And until next time, bye for now.